Hello family, my name is Chris, I am your home gamer dad, and today we're going to be doing an unboxing video of Steamforge's Games' latest dive into the world of survival horror, video game to board game. They've done Resident Evil 2, they've done Resident Evil 3, and now they've gone back to the beginning with the original Resident Evil. I wish I had been more knowledgeable about Kickstarters back when Resident Evil 2 first came out, because I would have went all in on that, hands down, without any questions asked. But I've been collecting the pieces slowly but surely over the years. A lot of you know out there that I've been looking for that alligator for the longest time. Luckily, Steamforge Games opened their vault recently, so I was able to pick one up. And then when they did Resident Evil 3 Kickstarter, God, many moons ago, I went all in on that. So I have both of those in my collection right now. And then when this went live in October of 2021, I was right there immediately, did not even hesitate. Give me everything you have to offer. And as the campaign went on, more and more came to light about just who is there, who you have, who you unlock. It was a really cool campaign, the way that you actually moved through the mansion based on the votes of everyone watching, and certain characters were unlocked at certain times. And then, of course, you have some characters that fell during the course of the game. They died, but they are still in here regardless. And I'm going to be going over all of this as, just one by one, mostly showing off the figurines and the miniatures that came with all this. Normally, I also have everything already in their shrink wrap, but it was just causing too much of a light. But really, I haven't opened up anything at all. I've just removed the shrink wrap to make sure it was all good. So why don't we go ahead and start with the base game for Resident Evil, the board game, and see what horrors await for us under the lid. Quick warning before I start this unboxing, there will be spoilers here. So if you are not interested in seeing what's in the boxes for the base, expansions, Kickstarter exclusives, retro pack, or anything else from the game, then I would say come back to this and watch it after you've kind of unspoiled it for yourself. Otherwise here we go. All right, this is the first time I'm opening this box. I'm expecting to be a very special message underneath, as it was for the last two. Oh, it's not. It's actually just a picture, if I can get it all glowy or whatnot. There we go. It's a picture of the first zombie that you come across within the game. That's really cool that they put that one up front. Oh, and it's like all type of so you turn it. Is it actually going to show? Kind of, maybe, sort of. It doesn't really work very well on that, but you can actually see him moving and looking behind you and everything. And then on the back side of this is basically your trackers for a lot of holding of cards and everything. It's better off over here. Hold on. There we go. So it's just places for you to be able to put your cards. Your A deck, your B deck, and your C deck for all of your item cards that you're going to come across. I know one of these are mission cards, and one of these are also encounter cards for when you... this is probably encounter, this is mission. Your stars characters that you can send onto missions. I'm not sure what that one is, and then other features and unlockables as we go along the games as well. So just a mini mat that you can put your cards on so you know where they go. These are also all of your particular crests go as you unlock them throughout the course of the game. So it's really cool that they have all these different spots in it, very much like you would find aesthetically wise within the first mansion for Resident Evil 1. Rulebook and the scenarios within the game. There's a lot of scenarios in this. Where does this go? Laboratory B, Laboratory A, First Floor C. There's a whole lot of scenarios within just the base game of this particular game itself. And this is set up differently than Resident Evil 2 and 3 because you're exploring the mansion as you go into the mission. It's not just all laid out in front of you. You have a very small section of the map in front of you. So here, let me show you. So just for example, here's like first floor West A mission. You have these parts of the, mansion that are already explored. And then you have a good idea of like how much else you're going to unlock as you go through doors. So like you have a door here and a door here. There's nothing connecting to them, but as soon as you walk through it, you're going to draw from a deck of cards and that's going to build out over this way. And it actually shows you also how many other tiles that you should have in reserve, so you're not fumbling through everything in the box. It's very nice for them to do. But it's awesome because this could change depending on how many times you play the game, which is really awesome in its own right. And then, of course, each room that you walk into, something different happens. If it's a orange, red, or yellow color, then those are your encounters. So that's where you're going to come across different enemies. Your item decks, your A deck, your B deck, the C decks come across a little bit later. And then just general instructions about how to do this particular scenario. This is like the introduction scenario, very easy. But I love the way they do this, and I can't wait to try this out because it's a brand new mechanic to the Resident Evil games. So you got all the tiles and everything in here in order to be able to build out your mansion as you go along. The one thing I really like about this particular game that's different from Resident Evil 2 and 3 is that Resident Evil 2 and 3, the board game, were pretty much aesthetically equivalent to them on the PlayStation 1. You got those characters, those designs, those map layouts and everything. This is based off of the remake of Resident Evil 1, which is really an interesting choice, but I get why they did it, because that remake was like, that is the best remake ever, period, of every remake ever made in life. I'm sorry if you disagree. Please let me know your favorite down in the comments below. It's the top highest honor you can have in terms of remake, and I'm glad that they chose that version for this game, because there's a lot more monsters in it that you're going to be able to encounter. And for those of you who played the game, you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to open these up eventually in order to be able to see exactly what I have. But you have a bunch of other tokens. You have a large battlegrounds here, I would assume, for like boss fights or like other things. I think this is just one giant piece. Some tokens that you would put in rooms in order to show how many encounter cards that you're going to draw, 1, 2, or 3. Keys that are locked, events that are triggered. This is the beginning of the item deck. Blood splatters for damage. And then just some other like reminder tokens. There's a lot more to these. You probably can't see, but you got a whole lot of cards within here that you're going to be able to sift through in order to get as many pieces to the mansion as you can get as you go along. And I still wish that these were a little bit brighter. They're very hard to see regardless, even though I'm sure on the camera they're tough for you to see, but here, me looking at them, they're difficult to see as well. It's the one thing I wish that they would still do more, like, just do better with as more Resident Evil games come out. Make these tiles lighter. Let me see the details. Let me see the horror that was in the tiles, rather than just being kind of dark and gloomy like that. But, yeah, whatever. There are 2 layers of trays within the base game itself. This is the bottom layer that has all the cards attached to it. Sorry for the glare or anything like that, but you're going to basically find your very small cards that are going to be the items that you find, your starting items, things along that ways. You have the tension deck, the one with the little doors on the back. I like that this hasn't changed between all 3 games. It's still the little doors on the back to show you this is the tension deck, and it's still the same concept. There are green cards in here where it's all clear, nothing happens. Orange cards, which are more of like an effect that like triggers fear or whatever in your characters, and then red cards where enemies spawn, enemy attacks, all that other crazy stuff. I have here the various room cards. Actually, there are 2 sets of these cards, it looks like. So I'm not going to go over every card that comes with the game, so it's just a really cool preview of what you're going to find. But yeah, here's are the room cards. You would have what was already pre-set up from the mission, and then you would draw this card, and then you would put all this down, and this would be what you have explored. That's actually upside down because there's the writing on the bottom. Say you walk through this door, and then everything gets revealed, and so you would put down all these different tiles. You would put down these encounter markers in here, and then if you happen to walk into like this orange room here, you would immediately do that encounter where all the items go and all that other stuff. And that's a simple lock, so it also shows you other locked rooms. But then these are star cards, which I think this might be the encounter deck. As you flip through that, it shows you what could possibly be in each one of the rooms. And then, unless that's the encounter deck. Actually, no, that's the encounter deck, because I can tell by the corridor here from what I've seen other people play as. This might be the mission cards, as you can see here. Sometimes what it is you're going to send teammates that are not playable. So you'll play as 1 to 4 players in this game. Anybody that's not playable, that's an active character, can go on a mission, and if they succeed, you get great stuff. If they fail, they die. So be careful on that. Might as well just throw this in there just so you can see as well. There's your all clear, as I mentioned before. And then you have the B deck. And then I wonder if this is like the C deck, because I know there's a C deck in here, very similar to how there was in Resident Evil 3, where specific cards go in the C deck, and you need those cards in order to move on with certain areas. So I assume like the various sword, armor, helm keys are in this. The crests are probably in this, you know, and you're going to find them as you explore the mansion. But these are basically all the cards, as you can see here, that come with the base game. And like I said, I'm not going to be going over every single card in the game because that's just way too much to go through, and I got other things that I got to open up for you guys. But you do want to see the minis that come with this, because that's what brings this game to life. The 3D figures that not only are you playing as, but running away from the majority of the game. So just keep in mind, when you look at this, this is all that comes with the base game. You may be familiar with Resident Evil 1 and not see certain characters here, like a giant plant or a giant spider. All of that does not come with the base game. You do get a boss here of the Tyrant, which is awesome. Here's Lisa Trevor right here. You get 4 hunters. That's terrifying. Even 1 hunter's crazy. And then, of course, our characters. We got, all right, so there's Chris. Come on. Amazing. Very cool. Got Jill and Rebecca right here. So this way you're going to be able to play as them through your campaign if you wish. Of course you're going to play as Jill. Why not? Jill is like the best. I love her. Though Mr. Barry Burton here has always been a special place in my heart. He is an amazing character. I wish I had actually beaten Revelation 2 to see more of that, but I just couldn't get into that game. However, Barry being in it is a win in its own right. And then you got all of your zombies, which are right here. You got your Cerber Stalks, and these nasty characters are the Crimson Heads. For those, again, familiar with Resident Evil 1, the remake on the GameCube, these guys are reanimated zombies that are bright red in color. They run super fast at you, and they do a massive amount of damage. Oh, that's right. So in the punch things, you're going to be able to make the weapon dials as well. So there's the holders in order to put that together. That's really cool. And then the dice that come with the game. These are the exact same dice configurations as Resident Evil 3. So if you have Resident Evil 3, you can look at those dice, and that's exactly what's on here. So that is what you get within the first Resident Evil 1, the base game. These are all the figures that would come with it. Those were the tiles that you got, the cards that you get. It's still a lot of game to play. There are, like I said, many missions that you can go through, avoiding hunters, avoiding zombies, avoiding Crimson Heads, which are pretty much bosses in their own right. And then, of course, showdowns against Lisa and the Tyrant eventually. So, with that said, let's start opening up some of the expansions. Oh, shoot. Sorry. 2 expansions that I'm sure you're going to be able to find not long after this hits retail are the Into the Darkness and the Bleak Outpost. These guys are basically just giant monsters that you have to fight within the game that you'd be more familiar with if you've played the game itself. I am going to start, because it kind of gives a little bit of a background on here. We're going to start with the Bleak Outpost, because this brings you into the garden center, as well as I think you go down underneath to the aquatic area. Yes, you do. And then over here, something in the attic, and then something in a giant cave. So we're going to start over here on this one right there. Instruction guide for the Bleak Outpost, telling you exactly how to incorporate it into your game. More tiles and more tokens and everything for this particular one. I think you even have, so you have special tokens. Right down in here, you have flooded tokens for the aquarium area, and then you have like vines over here as well. And I think these are more corpses and whatnot that you would have. And again, another giant room with all these weird symbols on it. Oh boy, it's got to be a boss fight arena again right there. So you got new tokens in order to fall into certain areas of the map, depending on which one you're playing as, that kind of relate to the characters and the creatures, I should say, that are in this expansion. And those would be Plant 42 and the Neptune Shark. Basically, 2 BOWs, bioorganic weapons, that have been infused with the T-virus in order to be able to get these giant, massive creatures right before you. I'm going to just take pictures on my phone so you can get them a little bit more details and see them that way. But I remember fighting Plant 42 in both versions. So easy in the original PlayStation version. Much more difficult in the GameCube one for sure. And then Neptune's part in the GameCube version, way cooler than you would see in the PlayStation. But in the GameCube version, it's way more intense. It tries to flood a room that you're in. So awesome. And I'm so glad to have these 2. And of course, all the tiles that I got would lead you into those specific areas of the mansion. I do want to show off some maps really quickly before I go. I'm just going to flip through this really quickly. I like how it starts at Garden B, which means you probably are going in the garden a little bit during the base game, I think, anyway. Guard house. So you got the garden, the guard house, the aqua ring. This is where you're going to start getting your way to finding the shark. Oh, look at that figure 8 configuration right here. Wow, look at this. They're actually overlapped each other. I wonder if that happens more within the base game itself with the nasty shark chasing you around these areas. I can only assume this thing can move along these spots because that's about how big the base is, 2 by 2, so it could move along this way and just chase you around this ring forever until you beat it, which is awesome. Back to the guardhouse and guardhouse C, where you're going to be fighting this guy right here. Oh, here's where those vines go. Oh, that's really cool. So I guess if you walk here, you have to take care of the vines until you get here to finally show down with Plant 42. That's great. Love it. And then, of course, you have new cards here. Neptune and Implant 42 are in here. More areas in order to go to the Garden House. As you can see, Garden House B, card number 5, I think that is. So you got a lot of different locations in here. The boss encounter cards. I'm sure that there's more mission cards and everything located within this. So definitely a great expansion to pick up. If anything, just for those two characters and to make your... your game even longer. But it also introduces a blue herb, which cures poison, which I don't think this one actually heals you. It's just poison. Yep, just poison. Of course, with Plan 42, that thing's going to be poisoning you all over the place. I wonder if there's spiders in here. Actually, I think there are in of course, the spiders in here. Speaking of which, that's a great segue. Spiders! The Into the Darkness expansion, introducing the cave systems, and then I think the attic and the basement for the mansion, something along that ways. Basically, you're going to be fighting 2 other giant creatures in here that you wouldn't normally fight in the base. You would need this in order to fight them. Totally worth it, 100%. Again, a lot of new stuff, more tiles, more exploration cards. But otherwise, you have, again, the instruction book to that in order to be able to incorporate it into your main game. And then, of course, you're going to have all your tiles. These definitely look more cavernous than the other ones. Super hard to see. Of course they are, but these are definitely cave structures around here and everything, rather than you being inside of a mansion, even though these steps are right here are definitely from the mansion. So you got those new tiles that are in there for this. Again, you got a boss arena right here for somebody that I'm going to show you momentarily, and then webbing right here in order to slow you down, and then other tokens like that. So once again, just like the other one, about the same amount in each, three sheets of new tiles, new tokens and tiles, same thing that you would have gotten in the other expansion. And now we have snakes and spiders, 2 of the biggest phobias that most people have going up against you as you go through the mansion. I do want to mention really quickly for the last expansion, the Bleak Outpost, Plan 42 is in 2 pieces inside of the box. You just have to kind of push it together. It's really easy to snap together. I wouldn't recommend taking it apart afterwards, but you could if you want to. These 2 are just kind of themselves. They're able to do what it is they do. You have the Black Tiger, which is a giant monster that you would fight down in the depths. I believe you fight it as both Chris and Jill, but with Chris it's a little bit easier because he gets the flamethrower, which is like murderous to this giant spider. And then on the other side, you have the Yawn, a giant snake, which you fight a few times as you go through the mansion. He opens up a few new areas for you to explore, but mostly you want to be able to beat this thing in order to collect all the great stuff that it has. I think it has one of the crests behind it, which you need in order to advance through the mansion. And then, of course, just for the sheer fact of being able to beat a giant snake. Card-wise is pretty much the same thing as you got from the last expansion. A pile of new items right here, and of course areas that are locked that you'd have to get through on the map. Blue herbs because you're going up against a giant spider who's going to poison you. This is one of the enemy cards for the Yawn. Lots and lots of cards here, and then on the back we have Cave C, card 6 or whatever. So this is like the cave system, and again, it's either the attic and or the basement. Hold on. All right, so maybe not the attic, but it's definitely the second floor right here where you fight the Yawn for the first time, and then you go over here to the 3rd floor, which is the attic area where you would fight the Yawn for the second time, and this is like your last stand and everything like that, where you have to beat this thing here. So that's all that, and then the garden section in order to get up to it, the caves that you'd be rummaging around, and then your fight with the Black Tiger. Oh, that's so awesome. That thing is terrifying, crazy. So those are your basic expansions that you're going to be able to most likely find retail for this game after this whole thing has come out to the public. Now there's some other stuff that you may or may not find. First you have the Retro Pack here, which Resident Evil 2 and 3 both had this. What this is basically every single card in the game, from the director's cuts, which is right here that I'm showing you, to the expansions, to the base game, to all the things that you could possibly get anywhere in the game at all, in a retro-like style to it. So rather than it being more based on the GameCube one, the images that you're going to get here are going to be based off of the PlayStation 1 version. Kind of. Maybe. Sort of. It's a little weird. I'm not a big fan of the way that they actually did it. So it's kind of a yes and no deal. But what we have here is the director cut as well, which it's Kickstarter edition. This may be another expansion that you should be able to buy. I hope you'd be able to buy it at some point anyway. And this just kind of adds more to your game. This is something where if you've gone through the campaign straight through, you want to add maybe a little bit of flair to the games, different difficulties, or just trying to get something new into your game. And I'll show you exactly what this is after I kind of go over a few things on the the retro pack here. Here's all the packs of cards that you get within the retro pack itself. Over 600 cards. Again, this is everything that the game has to offer. And here's the thing. Again, you're going to be able to see certain items in the games that would be like you would find them in their original PlayStation glory. And so if I can get a little bit better of a focus on it. There you go. So there's a Suncrest. You're able to see that. That's kind of how it looked like in the PlayStation 1 version. Awesome, great, all that in between. Certain characters that don't have a counterpart, like Lisa Trevor, are just kind of here. But there are other things like, take this zombie, for instance. Let me just kind of get a little bit of a focus on that one. So there's the card in focus, but the zombie is very much weird. It's pixelated. All of the characters within the retro pack don't look like their retro selves. They look like the GameCube versions, but pixelated. I get what they're trying to do because Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 had retro packs, and it's just a great way for if somebody can't get all of the expansions, buy the retro pack, because at least then you'll have the cards. You can use some, tiles from your other game, even though they may not match the setting. You can still use it. This is what you did a lot for Resident Evil 2 with the alligator. If you get the retro pack, you just needed an alligator stand-in for your game, and you would have the cards and be able to play it. That's fine. It just, I don't know. I wish that there was a different look for all of these cards for the retro pack, but regardless of anything, they're going to stay with me. They're going to stay in my collection. The 2 and 3 retro pack are together in one box, and this will join them nicely. Now then, the director's cut box. Let's put that right on over here. And then, of course, you have the information about how to add it to the game, where you want to put everything in there. We'll go over that shortly because I do like doing that. And, there we go. We got new monsters in here to be able to look at. Oh, that's going to be awesome. So you have a whole bunch of new playable characters up here, both ones that can be in your game as going through the mansion, going and finding all the rooms and everything, or part of your missions team in order to be able to do stuff on their own and whatnot. This looks like Brad Vickers right there. That Forrest, I think, is over here. Eric is, I can't remember every single character that you meet in Resident Evil, 1. It's been a while since I played. However, you also have other things. You have Wesker right here, which is, so you have a playable version of Wesker. So the main villain you can play as, which is awesome. And then you can also be a bad version of him. This is not a zombie Wesker. This is actually like as either a hero or a villain. So this is like the trainer mechanic for the director's cut, where you can play as Wesker and your goal is to like defeat everyone in the mansion. Whereas you could be Wesker in this one. I hate that my camera keeps doing this. Let's just put him back. You understand. You can either be Wesker and then try to help everybody. But in addition to that, we have ourselves a zombie here with TNT strapped to it. That is a special game mode, which is awesome. Some more Crimson Heads, including, I think, a Proto-Crimson Head, which is like a stronger version. More Crimson Heads. Snakes, little snakes that would appear in the garden that you remember. There's the spiders that I talked about. Where were they? Crows, 2 little crows right here. I think these are like the same models as you got from Resident Evil 2 and 3, which keep in mind also, a lot of this, like the crows and everything, were their own expansion in Resident Evil 2, and then like other monsters appeared in other expansions. I like how the director's cut kind of just gives you all these new monsters at once. You don't have to go and hunt down like 4 or 5 different things in order to get every single new monster, like the web spinners here or the chimeras, which are something that you wouldn't encounter until like the very, very end of the game when you're running through the laboratory. Here we go. So we got Albert Wesker, who I knew that was. Brad Vickers, I was right. Forrest Spires, yeah, that's what I thought that was. Enrico, that's your name. I couldn't remember it. And Edward, which I believe one of these two you find in by the yawn. One of them is unfortunately bitten. And then I believe Forrest has the rocket launcher and he's dead. And then just other characters that have been within the mansion that you may or may not meet as you go through it with your main character. So these are a lot of new playable characters that you're going to be able to go through on your game with. That's a zombie Forrest Spires. That's right, because he is a zombie in the game, technically. Crimson Head prototype. There we go. Enemy Wesker, as I talked about. He's the one that has the C4 attached to him, by the way. This zombie Forrest and whatnot. snakes, chimeras, crows, all that awesome stuff right there. New enemies that you can add in, running out of characters in reserve. So again, that gives you a greater pool of characters to play with in order to get missions done or for them to die. All your new enemies, and it shows you where they go in. I don't think there are new maps here. New gameplay rules for poison and other type of stuff. There's epilogue cards like you would see in Resident Evil 3, just kind of give you a little end of game scenario about how you did your ranking system. Trader mode, where if you're going to be using bad Wesker, enemy Wesker. So there's two different things. There's an actual trader mode where somebody is a traitor trying to beat everybody, more than just Wesker, I guess, and then enemy Wesker. One dangerous zombie mode. This is where you are being chased by a zombie with TNT. That would be Force. If you shoot and kill him, he explodes and everybody dies. So you have to really avoid him the entire time. And then a hard mode. If the game wasn't hard enough, you can make it harder. Real Survivor, and then of course the knife only mode. So all of this is what's added into the director's cut mode here. Adding in all the new characters, new enemies, things along that ways. Definitely worth it, in my opinion, adding to the game. If anything, just for new enemies and then new characters to bring into your base game. So awesome, awesome thing. I'm pretty sure director's cut should be available for retail. If it's not, they need to make it happen. So that was a lot of the base stuff that you would find in Resident Evil 1. If you got all of that I just showed you from those last 4 boxes, you could literally play an entire game of Resident Evil 1, start to finish, almost exactly as you would find it in the GameCube version, PlayStation version now, because you could download that on PSN or Xbox or whatever, probably on the Switch, and I believe so as well. But now what we have here are some Kickstarter exclusive stuff, some other fun things that I managed to get my hands on by going all in for the Alpha Pledge, and then also just something to show you guys. You got a monster pack, you got the Fallen 5, these were the 5 characters that died during the game, and then they came back for you to be able to play as. Monster box, and some other Kickstarter exclusives. So why don't we just take a quick look at all these under the camera and see what we got. First and foremost, the terrain box. In every Resident Evil board game that I've ever played, I will sit here and tell you 100%, if you can find it and you can afford it, get the terrain boxes. You will not be disappointed. You have, instead of a flat little cardboard token that you would flip over or whatever, you can have full 3D doors that actually open and shut for a much better visualization going through the game. You have all these different door types. You have stairs going up and down, ink ribbons, typewriters, item boxes, corpses. Get the terrain box. Definitely get the terrain box if you can find it. Hopefully it'll be available or whatever. If not, find a terrain box for Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3. It doesn't matter. A lot of this stuff is interchangeable. All this is actually going to go into a single terrain box that I have right now. And just get it. You will not be disappointed. Get the terrain. It's still awesome. It's still amazing. It's still fully functional, which is great. And yeah, that's pretty much what that is. Next is the monster box. If you just want to have more monsters in your game so you don't have to worry about running out of them as you play or whatever, you got a whole bunch of zombies right in here. You got some 4 more Cerberus, 3 more Crimson Heads, and 4 more Hunters. If you have every single hunter from this game on your board at once, you might as well just call it quits right there, because these things are just going to kill you. I would actually say the same thing for the Crimson Heads. If you use every single Crimson Head model from every one of these expansions in your particular run, that's game over, man. Game over. But that's all the monster boxes, just additional figurines in order for you to be able to add to your game. This is actually, I have a giant bag of zombies right now between all 3 of the games. So that's all these guys are going to go. Cerberus are probably going to go in their stuff, because these characters are very common between all of the games. The Hunters themselves, though, original to 1. Well, they started at 1. They have appeared in other games as well. And then, of course, the Crimson Heads, which have only appeared in Resident Evil 1, and I'm surprised that we have yet to see them again. Within the Fallen 5-pack, I believe these are characters. I mean, it's Wesker. I guess he died. I don't remember him dying during the main campaign for the Kickstarter. Remember, this doesn't necessarily represent the game. This is just what happened during the Kickstarter. I believe he died. I don't remember. But what you have here are alternate sculpts of these characters. You can actually play as these characters, if I'm not mistaken, yes, in the director's cut version. But now you have advanced cards for each one of them, which does something a little bit different, makes them a little bit stronger, or just gives them different abilities altogether. So that's what's in the Fallen 5. These are all characters you're able to play as in the director's cut. The Fallen 5 are alternate sculpts for them, plus advanced versions for them in order to give them new powers, new abilities, and just something new to add to your game. So that's what's in this particular box. And so in here you have exclusive Kickstarter alternate sculpts of various characters. And I think I'm most excited for this right here. I honestly didn't think that I was going to get her. I have Rebecca Chambers. Let's see here. There we are. We have Rebecca Chambers holding her basketball. Though I think the one over here is more like a beret. I don't know why. It just feels a little flat on the back. I actually didn't think I was going to get this figure. This was a figure that apparently only those that backed Resident Evil 3 and I thought 2 were supposed to get. I did back 3. I didn't back 2, but I got her anyway, which again is the Rebecca. I'll just pull it now. You saw that. This was the pose that Rebecca was in the hidden photo of her from Resident Evil 2 that you found under Wesker's decks, which is very, very odd. But you have a lot of alternate sculpts here of all the different characters. Jill's in here, Forrest, Chris is in here, even another. Wow, I have a lot of Rebeccas. She is just all over the place on this. But that's all this is. There are no cards. There's nothing else in here. It's just additional characters and the way that they look. You can match them up with their advanced cards, or you can just use them as is. And finally, to round things off here, we have neoprene mats. I have 4 of these that show all of this. And to be honest with you, even though this is for Resident Evil 1, you can use this in any one of the Resident Evil games. You just won't be using the oil markers right up here because in Resident Evil 1, you have to burn bodies so this way they don't come back. But at least for your other games, you can put your character here and then their health here and then all of their weapon dials. You shouldn't have any more than 4 weapons. And then, of course, total inventory slots. Every character will have a different amount of slots, but this is like the max anyone will have. So these neoprene mats, I'm almost 99.9% sure will be able to work for any one of the Resident Evil games. I will have to test that to be sure. You don't even need the health thing. You can just use it right there, which is awesome. And then, of course, the golden Tyrant, a late addition to the actual Kickstarter itself. Golden Tyrant from the Saturn, I believe, you could only find the Golden Tyrant in. And it's just like one of those special things that you do certain things within the game or whatever. You find a yellow version of the Tyrant, as you see here. Slightly stronger, slightly harder. It takes a bit more of a beating, more of a fun little thing to find and then just say that I've found and beaten. Not exactly a super boss, but within here he is. I don't think I'm ever going to open this up because I love this. This is more of a display model than anything. So yeah, there you go. That's what you have. That is the Alpha Pledge. And there you have it, everybody. Resident Evil 1, the board game. I have a lot of organizing to do because I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of wasted space in all of these boxes specifically that I can easily just kind of condense down into like 1 or 2 boxes. I've seen it happen already online. People have posted their own condension for everything. All of this stuff, all of this stuff, all of this into like 2 boxes, which is exactly what I want to do. With that said and done, let me know what you think of Resident Evil 1, the board game. Is this something that you're excited for? Are you interested in the Resident Evil series at all? 2, 3, 1 is the way that they did it. Which ones have you played? Which ones do you like better? And then, of course, do you have this and are you going to be backing the next Kickstarter whenever that happens? Because I don't think that there's an actual date on the paperwork that they sent for that. There was for Resident Evil 1, I don't believe there is for this one. But, you know, it'll probably be hopefully sooner than later, I'm guessing in the next month or 2. I do plan on bringing Resident Evil to the channel at some point in the future. I want to be able to play this for you guys. I love all the games so far. I really want to dive into this one. I don't know if I want to do 2 and 3 first and then 1, or do I want to do it in chronological order, 1, 2, and 3. I don't know. I want to hear your opinions about that. So that means that if you aren't already, be sure to subscribe to the Home Gamer Dad so you don't miss any future survival horror, Resident Evil action, or any other fun games I happen to put out for you to enjoy. If you wish to support the channel even further, a super thanks is always welcome and appreciated. Thank you to everybody out there for anybody that does that in order to show your support in the growth for Home Gamer Dad. You can also head on over to patreon.com/HomeGamerDad, and if you wish, join the growing family of Patreons down over there. Check out the various tiers over there about things that I have exclusive for Patreon supporters and whatnot. I think I'm going to be able to put some exclusive Patreon stuff up based on Resident Evil, just because there's so many things within these boxes here that I think you guys would like to see maybe a little bit more of, but it wouldn't really warrant a full video here on YouTube because I'd rather just save that for full playthroughs, how to play, things along that way. So I don't know, still working on that and whatnot. Either way, head on over to patreon.com, give that a like, give that a consideration, and if not, let me tell you, your view, your like, your comments, your just being here right now and experiencing this with me is more than enough and very, very, very greatly appreciated. As always, take care of yourselves and each other. We are family forever, gaming together, exploring the mansions, getting lost within the horrors of these games, and then, of course, finding a way to rescue all of our friends and having a dang good time doing it. You guys have a good one, and I will see you in the next one.